G'day, Ziggy D here, back with another build guide for my Righteous Fire Marauder. Now, with 1.2 coming sometime within a month or two, and with musings of potential snapshotting nerfs, and I have spoken to GGG Carl, and he did say that there would be changes to snapshotting in 1.2.0, and that it would affect Righteous Fire, so I think it's pretty much guaranteed that that's coming. It's been asked a lot in my stream chat whether Righteous Fire builds are actually going to be viable post snapshotting, because if you watch most Righteous Fire players, pretty much any Righteous Fire player is going to be using snapshotting. So for those of you guys, just as a very quick summary, those of you guys who aren't aware, essentially Righteous Fire is something that you can cast and then take the gem out. So essentially I can cast Righteous Fire, I can take the gem out, and then it will still remain active. So that allows you to do things like snapshot with Carcass Jack, so you get the advantages of Carcass Jack, and then switch to a better rare piece of armor. And this is what I've been using on the character, and it is very powerful. Now you can also do things like use red beaks and go to low life to snapshot 200% increased damage on Righteous Fire, which is obviously a significant damage buff. I even have an Animate Guardian here with Leercast and Dying Breath, which gives me even more damage, 233 damage total bonus from using the snapshotting technique. So obviously snapshotting is very powerful. This goes without question. Lots of people are using snapshotting in lots of different builds because it is a very powerful way to get a lot of extra damage or utility or something without really much investment. But is Righteous Fire actually viable? Now, I've done a fair bit of testing on stream in a couple of different maps, and to show you guys today, we're just going to run a map. I'm just going to commentate a map, and we'll talk a bit about the potential changes to snapshotting. So let's go on and jump in. I've got a level 74 Gorge Map here, item quantity 106. We've got Elemental Weakness, which will be a little bit nasty because with my Carcass Jack, I don't know if that's going to lower my Cold and Lightning, but I should be fine, hopefully, on Fire Resist once I put up my auras. Let's bring up Purity Fire. Should overcap me by enough for Elemental Weakness to not be an issue. But this map should be okay. It'll be a borderline. May have to get a little bit more resistances if we're going for a non-snapshotting setup. But Carcass Jack is not a bad chest by any stretch. It's not quite as good as the rare chest I've been using though. So just to give you guys a bit of a heads up, I am currently level 80. And I'm wearing approximately 2 exalts worth of gear here. Sorry, actually, a bit under 3 exalts. I have 1.5 for the Rise of the Phoenix, 1 exalt for the Carcass Jack, full-length Carcass Jack, nice and easy. That's what I'm running Righteous Fire in, and a couple of other pieces of thing that were nothing that I'm wearing was over 5 chaos apart from the Rise of the Phoenix and the Carcass Jack. So pretty, average sort of end game gear. 5.2k HP, starting to get up there, starting to get a bit more powerful. So let's go ahead and jump into the Gorge Map here. And I'll just give you guys a map commentary, so hopefully it'll be something you guys enjoy a bit. Let's turn on some game sounds, some music here, get a little bit going, and let's jump into the Gorge. One of my favorite maps in Path of Exile as well. So we're going to be doing this without snapshotting. Usually I'll go to low life, I'll switch, do all this different stuff, but since I'm going to be doing this snapshot without snapshotting, I'm simply going to be activating Righteous Fire. And we'll go with just my normal setup, just checking my resist. Looks like my cold resist is a bit low. Ouch, that actually might be a bit sketchy, but my fire resist is still at 90%. However, if I do get cursed, I'm going to take quite a bit of damage, so good thing I have a bunch of Ruby Flask to run with. So obviously if you're going to go without snapshotting, you need to make sure you get your resistances sorted a little bit. I could switch to a Rumvarax, that would be helpful, but I'll just stick with Brightbeak. I think we'll be okay. Gorge isn't usually too hard. What other map mods do we have? Chain, we have Power Charges, Reflect is not a problem, Monster Damage. It could be sketchy. We'll see. Could be interesting. I wanted to at least run a pseudo hard map for you guys. So 1.2.0, let's see how we go up here, has been pretty much confirmed to have snapshotting in it. As I said, I spoke to one of the devs, and it seemed to work. It seemed like it was something that was pretty much guaranteed to be happening, and that it would be affecting builds like this. Now, with that in mind, I've been thinking that there's a good chance that if they do remove snapshotting from the game, they will be counter buffing a lot of the builds that do utilize snapshotting. So, for example, summoners use snapshotting quite a lot to become what a lot of people would be called viable. I think it is possible to make viable summoners without snapshotting, but most people will snapshot with summoners. And Righteous Fire is another one of those builds that a lot of people will snapshot with. However, I think the key difference here is, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide, but personally, I think the damage is actually really damn good without snapshotting. So this is my damage without snapshotting just here. I do have dual curses I can take advantage of, which I haven't really been using all that much, but you can see when I do use that, the damage is pretty ridiculous. And my damage without snapshotting, I haven't done the actual math as a cells map, nice, and cast one damage taken, getting some nice drops. It should be something like 12 to 15k DPS. I'll have to actually check on the calculator. Maybe I can post that in the description for you guys below. But I don't know, to me it feels pretty good, and every test I've done so far, I'm taking a bit of damage there from, looks like Venom stacks or something, has felt really good. Like, this feels very viable to me for you know, for the price of the build. Not particularly expensive to get up to this point. Seems to me like a very high amount of damage and pretty good clear speed. Now, snapshotting is certainly a lot more impressive. When I'm running this build with snapshotting, it feels frankly OP. Like, I kind of walk through mobs. I barely ever have a chance to ever use my dual cursors. At least with snapshotting removed from the game, I actually get a chance to use my cursors because things don't die quite as quick. But something else has come out of all of this discussion as well. Apparently, one of the developers from GGG, I haven't seen the source on this, but a few people did quote this to me earlier today, have said that the damage of Righteous Fire wouldn't be affected too much by the snapshotting nerf. So the wording of that kind of leads me to believe that they are indeed thinking of counter-buffing Righteous Fire after nerfing the damage of it by, like, after the damage of it being nerfed by removing snapshotting from the game. Because, you know, removing snapshotting in the game essentially would reduce my damage by 230 something percent on Righteous Fire, which is a pretty big amount. But as you can see, the damage is still, I think the damage is still quite viable without snapshotting. But if they are planning on buffing Righteous Fire to counter the nerf to snapshotting, then I think it's still going to feel pretty OP. I don't know, I've heard a lot of people, you know, worrying about this, and because, you know, I've been doing this big 7-day guide for how to make a Righteous Fire character, people were kind of like, oh, I kind of want to make one, but apparently they're getting nerfed in like a month or so, so I can understand why you wouldn't want to play it if you feel like it's getting nerfed, but I think Righteous Fire builds are actually in a really solid state. And I don't know, this is a level 74 map on a level 80 character. It feels pretty solid to me. And I have been doing some, with snapshotting, I've been doing some 77, 75 maps earlier today. And it works very well. But I've done quite a few different things without snapshotting now. And every time, it obviously doesn't feel as good, but still feels very powerful. Especially once I get that dual curse up. When I get that dual curse up, you just watch how quickly things melt. This is like insta-melt with the dual curses. So, even if they didn't buff the damage of Righteous Fire, I think I would still play this build post snapshotting removal, because I can, you know, just pre-curse packs before you attack them, like most other builds do. You're actually utilizing curses, instead of not, like myself, because I haven't really been having to. Even in high-level maps, I've barely been using my curses. I've been thinking about dropping Windscream, since I'm barely using one curse, let alone 2 curses. So that sword's terrible. So I'm thinking if I start, you know, using dual curse post snapshotting nerf, then my damage is not really going to feel that much lower than it does with snapshotting. And honestly, my thoughts on snapshotting in general are that it is kind of like a minor exploit. You know, it is that clever use of game mechanics. GGG have said that it is pretty harmful to the game. 8 additional items, that's a good roll. And although I don't think it's like a super big deal, I kind of like the idea that in action RPGs, people try and find ways to really break their characters, make the characters extra powerful, and usually that is like, you know, finding clever ways to put skills together, and snapshotting is pretty clever. I like it from the point of view that, oh, that's cool. When I first learned about snapshotting in Path of Exile and seeing people do really fancy things with auras and summons and stuff like that, I was like, that's really cool. Like, I was impressed at how creative and clever it was. But, that said, I don't think it is that great for the health of the game. It is difficult to balance, and it's also tedious. Like, as a player, I kind of resent the fact that's the only thing I have with this build that I don't like so much, is that when I do start up a map, I have to like switch my gear, I have to go to low life, I have to pop a ruby flask, I have to you know, activate Righteous Fire, switch my chest, and then, you know, switch my weapons, switch my chest back. You know, it only takes like 5-10 seconds, but it's still annoying. It's a tedious thing to do. So, you know, removing that, and even if my damage goes down a little bit, won't really feel that bad to me. So, those are my thoughts on snapshotting. I think it's very solid potential that even if snapshotting is removed from the game, which I think it does sound like it is going to be, and even if Righteous Fire isn't counter-buffed, which it actually sounds like it's going to be, then Righteous Fire builds are still going to be very powerful. They might not be the top builds, like some of the top builds are Righteous Fire builds at the moment, but I think they'll still be well up there, especially as in terms of the amount of money you spend. It's one of the most cost-effective builds for the amount of DPS you get, and I think that will still be the case post-snapshotting removal. And I don't know about you guys, but I guess compare this to builds you've played in the past, realizing that I've only been playing this character for 6 days, and it already sort of clears kind of like this, which feels pretty good to me. So that's my thoughts on that. Let's just clear the rest of the map now and have some fun. I have really been enjoying this character. I've been trying not to play off stream, but every time I'm finished the stream, and this is kind of an excuse for me to play it as well, just making this video. But every time I'm like, I'm done making my videos, I'm done streaming for the day, I'm like, I kind of want to play some more just playing character. So I snuck a few maps in there, and I was actually kind of punished / rewarded for that the other day, when the other night I was playing off stream, and I found a Bringer of Rain and Alpha Tower within an hour. So obviously that's amazing, but of course it happens off stream, and I'm like, no one's gonna believe me. So I took a bunch of screenshots, but that was pretty rad. But yeah, it feels really good, and it's also a nice balance between clearing maps really well, which you guys have probably seen the video I put up just recently, probably yesterday, about mapping on this build. And it's also pretty well set up for doing like boss runs. It kills Dominus and Piety and all that super fast. So if you just run a little bit of rarity gear, you don't really lose any damage for doing that, unless you have to drop some HP, which you shouldn't have to for rarity gear. It's pretty easy to get rarity gear with HP. You clear the bosses really fast. You clear 2 of the bosses really fast, especially using Leap Slam like this. And it can run a lot of rarity really easily, so it's actually a really good magic finding build as well. Alright, here's the boss. This guy will be a little bit nasty. Let's use some Vile Cyclone to finish him off. Oh, Torture Chamber, Superior Torture Chamber. Here he goes, Master of the Blade. Here's the final boss. I didn't even curse him. I forgot to curse him. Oh, what? Gold Rim, nice. Cool. I'm always a fan of fighting some Gold Rims. Damn, I wish I had this when I was leveling though. Gold Rim's such a good item to level with. It's it does have rarity, but 30 all resist on one item is like sick. It's like a Rumvarax, but without having to take up a weapon slot. So a really nice item. And this plus a Rumvarax is like capped out resist for the entire game. Alright, so I'm not interested in that stuff, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the run. We'll do a quick ID, because if I do these videos without IDing this stuff, you guys always want to see if I got anything good. That thing had potential, too bad it doesn't have life. If that had life, it'd be worth something. No good. That one's life and some resist. That's actually not too bad for a chest. That's kind of like on par with my my armor chest, but because it's armor evasion, this one tends to have a lot more. But nothing of any value there. I'll probably vendor everything, looks like. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think. Do you think that Righteous Fire builds will be viable without snapshotting? What do you think? Do you think they're going to be removing snapshotting? Do you think they'll be buffing Righteous Fire and other builds that use snapshotting at the moment? What do you think they should do? Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.